Are you ready for another video? Once for yes, twice for no. Here are 19 reasons to watch the Bag of Bones miniseries. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave Musson at Dave Musson on Instagram, and this is the place where I talk to you about all things Stephen King. You know the drill by now. The links to the description will take you to my range of Stephen King themed band shirts, my own collection of short stories, Once More Around the Sun, my newsletter, and a bunch of other things as well. But more than anything, thank you for checking out this video. I really hope you enjoy it. So we are now back on the path of the adaptations of movies, and we are in the 2010s, and we are up to 2011. And the 2-episode miniseries, if you're in America, or 2.5 hour long movie, if you're in the UK, A Bag of Bones, directed by Mick Garris. It's an adaptation of King's 1998 gothic, literary, horny novel, which I've covered elsewhere on this channel. And, well, it's sort of an interesting one, I guess. Starring Pierce Brosnan, as well as Anabeth, Gish, Melissa George, Anika Noni Rose, Matt Frewer, and plenty more. And I'm going to tell you about it in this video. Now, as I always try to do with these videos, anything that might spoil a first-time watch for you, I will cluster behind a spoiler alert, give you fair warning, and if you don't want to look at those things, so that would be some of my favourite clips and scenes from the movie, closest to the book, all of those kind of things, well, you can just find the timestamp to the outro in the description and skip ahead, and you won't have anything ruined for you, but otherwise you can watch all the way through. Now, if you want to watch or re-watch Bag of Bones for yourself, then from the looks of it, it's available on both Amazon and Apple TV in the US and in the UK. I didn't look at any other countries because I'm a bad host and I just didn't. But chances are, if it's on those platforms in those two countries, you're probably going to find it. Okay, I'm rambling now. Shall we crack on? Yes? Okay, lie still then. Here are 19 reasons to watch Bag of Bones. So I always like to start these videos with like a takeaway headline reason. For those of you who are so time poor you can only watch one reason out of 19 to watch something. You want the gist, you want the thing to take away. The Bag of Bones is one of those tricky ones to do that for, because it's just so meh. Like, across the 2.5 hours, it's perfectly well made, it's a very competent piece of filmmaking, but it's also pretty unmemorable. Not forgettable, because that would imply that it's bad. It's not bad. It's just not massively good either. Like, there is an atmosphere to it that I like. It's suitably creepy and spooky all the way through, and that kind of keeps the vibe of the book. I appreciated that. But otherwise, headline reason, there are worse King adaptations you could watch, for sure. And it does feel like a pretty fair adaptation of the book as well. So if you're a fan of the novel, chances are you will find something in this adaptation. Of course, another reason for you to watch this could be simply to watch the scenes of Pierce Brosnan's Mike Noonan character going out for a run, so you can ask yourself the same questions I did. Namely, what is he wearing? Like, where did they find that activewear? And why is it so awful? And secondly, why is he running like that? Has he never seen anyone run before? Has he never run himself before? Is he trying to run purely based on stage directions that have been translated from another language into English on how to run? So many questions. So back to being sort of serious for another reason. I really liked how Mick Garris captured the small town here, the unincorporated township of TR90/ the Darkscore Lake community. It just worked. That small townness, the lakiness, the woods, it had the right vibe to it. And I also particularly liked how everyone in the town knew and loved Mike Noonan's dead wife, Jo, yet he's a bit of a stranger there, despite the lakeside place that the Noonans have being his grandfather's and his grandfather having grown up there. Mike was so rarely there that he was a bit of an outsider there. And, you know, small town, with an outsider and some dark secrets. Classic King fodder, right? And it works in this movie. So you remember from the start, I made the distinction between it being a 2-episode thing in the US and a full-length movie in the UK. So that's how it aired originally. In 2011, in the US, it aired over 2 nights. And then in 2012, in the UK, it was just plonked out there as a 2.5-hour movie. Now, doing the 2.5-hour movie option is a slog, but also, to be honest, I don't think I'd have had the willingness to watch 2 episodes back to back. So I guess my point here is either way, this one should have been capped at 2 hours. It's just that bit too long. So something that gives the book an interesting flavour and that works in this adaptation is the story of Sarah Tidwell. So she's the black blues singer who went missing after playing at Darkscore Lake, and we learn about her fate through Mike's dreams and flashbacks and Joe's research and stuff like that. And the way Garris handles that in this adaptation is really effective. The flashbacks are some of the more compelling scenes, and the use of her music throughout this is very clever and adds to the creepiness. So let's jump into the cast. There are only a couple who I want to mention specifically because most of them here are just kind of like Matt Frewer in any Mick Garris adaptation. They're just fine. They do a good job. First person I wanted to spotlight was Anabeth Gish as Joe Noonan, so Mike Noonan's wife who gets killed right at the start of the movie. But she is good, and her chemistry with Pierce Brosnan is buyable, and she's this looming presence throughout the whole thing, despite her character being dead for most of it. And actually her death is a very effective scene. When she's hit by the bus and it's just silence almost, it just boom, straight past. There's no screeching of brakes, no screaming, any of that. Just very coldly delivered. And then we get the Mick Garris gore a few beats later. And that has more impact because of the silent treatment earlier. So, yeah, good performance and a good death. So William Shallert as Max DeVore was perfectly pitched and cast as a silly king villain. He's kind of a bit campy, very nasty, always sneering. Yeah, just totally worked, and a great translation from page to screen as well. So I also really liked Annika Noni Rose as Sarah Tidwell. I thought her singing was great, her performance was excellent, and she was just really well cast. Fun fact on this, the original casting for this was going to be Kelly Rowland. That didn't pan out, but I think what we got here was spot on. Right then, on to Pierce Brosnan. No, just no. I mean, I don't get why he's in this, but also watching him in this, I can't understand how he got to play James Bond. Admittedly, I've not watched any of the Brosnan Bond movies for a long time, but he's bad in this. Like, really bad. Throughout, whether he's like screaming at his laptop. Something! Come on, just give it to me! Something! Or trying to chat up a tree.
Greetings, my dear lady. Greetings.
Or, as we've already discussed, just trying to go for a run, or just generally trying to do anything, really. He's just really not good. He's baffling, completely baffling. Apart from his vomiting scene, that was spectacular. So lastly, before spoilers, I guess there's a reason this one sits in the large bag of, not bones, but large bag of generally forgotten about Stephen King adaptations. And that's because it's just too bland. There's something really good here, hidden away, but it's too long and it just doesn't hit the mark. Okay, from this point onwards, I'm going to be talking about some of my favourite moments in this adaptation, comparing it to the book and some of the things that might ruin a first-time watch for you. So if you don't want that to happen, find the timestamp below for the outro, click on it, and I will see you there to say bye before we part for another however long it may be. But otherwise, stick around because I've got a few more reasons for you to watch Bag of Bones coming right up. Okay, when we think about comparing this to the book, it's a Mick Garris adaptation, so it is pretty faithful. And actually the streamlining and some of the changes here, they just make sense for getting it on screen. And credit to Garris for giving it a go when it comes to trying to visualize Mike Noonan's crazy three-way dream where he's super horny and trying to bone 2 ghosts and 1 living woman across the space of a dream. It's not quite as horny as in the book, but A for effort. Okay, let's go into some of my favourite moments from this, and using a very loose definition of the word favourite there. I'm going to start off with just after Mike's spectacular vomiting scene. Which arm exactly is supposed to be hurting? Because one moment he's holding one arm, the next moment he's holding the other. Like, that smells of a compensation claim to me. I'm just going to say it. Also, why is it that the car that explodes, at least to my eyes, explodes before it hit the sign that it crashed into? Now, there are plenty of jump scares in this, and across 2.5 hours they get pretty tiresome, but Mike's nightmare early on in the movie, that one, pretty effective. Another effective jump scare was later on, and that was the brutal murder of Murty. Even knowing it was coming from the book, it still got me. And yes, very effective. But of course, my favourite moment is still the vomiting. Let's watch it again. As for my favourite line, well, it has to be this little nod to Misery from Joe at the book signing at the start of the movie.
I'm your #1 fan.
Have fun with Annie Wilkes here.
Okay, it's time to talk connections to other Stephen King adaptations, and there are so many. I'm going to bring my laptop closer so I can read them off for you. So we've obviously got Mick Garris, who, this is his final adaptation, at least at the time of recording. So by this point he'd done Sleepwalkers, The Stand, The Shining miniseries, Quicksilver Highway, Desperation, Bag of Bones, and Riding the Bullet. Nicholas Pike had done the music for all of those. Matt Frewer had been in pretty much all of those. He's not in Sleepwalkers. And that is about it, I think. Then we've got Anabeth Gish, who was in Desperation. And then going into some non-Mick Garris ones. So Peter McNeil was in Storm of the Century. Deborah Allen would later go on to be in Big Driver. Julian Richings is the guy from Kingdom Hospital, who looks like he's also in Rammstein. And Leslie Carlson was in The Dead Zone.
Yes, I know, Pierce Brosnan was also in The Lawnmower Man. I forgot, but I think that's fitting, given what Stephen King thinks about the Lawnmower Man movie. Back with the show.
Then we go on to Easter eggs. We've already mentioned the Misery nod, but there are a few other nice ones that I enjoyed. So there's a scene where Mike has just typed "Lie Still, Bag of Bones" over and over and over again, which felt like a little nod to the Kubrick version of The Shining. Did you catch the bit where Mike was doing the crosswords and looking down the left-hand side to try and find Joe's clues? And he said, "Booyah Moon, what is that?"
Booyah Moon? What does that mean?
EC's story had not long been out by that point, so enjoyed that reference. The scene where Mike gets knocked into the water, what's he swimming towards? A raft? Yeah, Creep Show 2? Skeleton Crew? Yeah, a bit of a stretch, but we'll have it. And also, did you notice when Mike was talking to his agent at the start of the book, did you notice the name of the author from whom some publisher had discovered a lost, unpublished book?
There's even talk of a newly discovered Bachman book.
Yeah, Bachman. So to sum up, this is fine. Definitely possible to enjoy it while you're watching it. Just don't expect to remember much about it once you're done.
Lie still, bag of bones.
Okay, there we go. 19 reasons to watch Bag of Bones. If you watch this one, let me know what you think of it. Did you enjoy the vomiting scene as much as I did? And are you as confused about Pierce Brosnan and running, both his running style and his running attire, as I am? Or is that just me getting something in my head and not being able to let go of it? Tell me what you think in the comments, all of that stuff. In the description, you'll find links to my Stephen King themed band shirts, to my own collection of short stories, Once More Around the Sun. You can sign up to my newsletter, all of those kind of things. Subscribe to this channel if you want to. And yeah, share it with a friend if you've got another person out there who loves Bag of Bones or wants to hear somebody discuss it. And show the clip of Pierce Brosnan vomiting twice. Made that 3 times in that video, then this is the one to share them. And do come back soon because, well, we've talked about Carrie from 1976, we've talked about Carrie from 2002, we've talked about The Rage, Carrie 2 from 1998, 1999, can't remember off the top of my head. Next time we're going to talk about Carrie.